Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of strength training with PRF. I am joined today by Jen Fitz-Roy, one of our excellent participants and one of our para-rowers who has worked with PRF in the past. We will be doing a workout today with some core, back, and an emphasis on keeping the chest and upper body open. So let's get started. All right, we're gonna start with a little warm up here. So to start with, you guys know what we're gonna do. We're just gonna work those shoulder blades in all the different directions. So let's start with our elevation and depression. So on an inhale, go ahead and lift those shoulders up towards your ears. And then on an exhale, release and press the shoulder blades down towards your hip bones. Inhale, squeeze up. Use that tension to find the muscle tightness. And then as you exhale, try to release each one of those spots of tension, switching the emphasis from the shrug as we inhale to pulling everything down and away on the exhale. Let's do about 3 more of these. Remember these muscles underneath your armpits that help pull the shoulder blades into place. When your coaches are harassing you about how relaxing your shoulders, this is what they want you to do. They want you to pull those shoulders away from the ears. Last inhale and exhale, drop the shoulders and leave them there. Hands can go out in front of you. I like palms facing down for this, and we're gonna do our protraction and retraction. So on an inhale, push the fingertips away from you as far as you can, spread the shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, squeeze the shoulder blades back behind you and open the collarbones. Inhale, wrap around the rib cage, and then exhale, squeeze and open. Again, think about where the extremes are in these ranges of motion. And most of the time, we want to be in kind of a neutral position, slightly inclined towards a little bit of retraction and a little bit of depression, right? But right now, we're just working that horizontal plane, inhaling as you push your fingertips away from your body, and then exhaling as you drive the shoulder back behind you a little bit. Let's do 1 more. Inhale, reach, and exhale, pull. All right, nice job. We're gonna introduce a little weighted warm-up here. So you can use a kettlebell for this or a dumbbell, totally your option, a water bottle, small child, whatever you have. If you have a kettlebell though, you're gonna go bottoms up with it, okay? You're holding on to both of the horns here, and we're gonna do a halo. So you're gonna draw it around to one shoulder, and then as you come behind you, the bottom of the bell is now facing down towards the ground, and then draw it back around. I'm gonna flip to the side just so you can see the movement of the bell for one. So it's draw towards the opposite shoulder, wrangle that bell back behind you, and then circle back around, okay? Now this one, so you're thinking about drawing, it's more like a space helmet, okay? Not quite a halo, or you'd be wearing your halo pretty darn low, all right? Let's stick going in one direction for right now, all right? And as we're doing this, we're moving through some of that nice mobility in the shoulder joint, okay? What we're trying not to do is mobilize the rib cage. So as you're going through these, let's think about growing that spine a little taller. Make sure the gaze is at your horizon line out in front of you. And as you bring it around to the sides especially, try to isolate that movement from the shoulder. All right, let's switch directions. So opposite side this time, draw it back and around and bring it back in front of you. Looking for that nice circle that encapsulates the entire head. So it's back towards the top of your vertebral column and then back in front of your collarbones as you draw back around. Do a quick check in here and make sure we're not swaying side to side as we move through here. Really working the head of the humerus, that upper arm bone, in the shoulder capsule. Let's do 1 more in this direction. And bring it back to center. set it down. Keep your weight somewhere close by because we will be revisiting it very shortly. All right, so for our first set of exercises, we're gonna be using our band, all right? You're gonna want 2 ends available to you, and you're wanting to be anchored at about shoulder height here, okay? We're gonna start with chest expansion. So come back so you have a little bit of tension in this band. I'm gonna demonstrate from a high kneeling position, and Jen is gonna demonstrate from her chair. So both are totally great options for whatever level athlete you are. All right, so let's start with our palms facing down, holding on to each end of the band. Make sure that you have grown nice and tall. Shoulder blades are slightly depressed and slightly retracted, right? But nothing too dramatic. As we exhale, you're gonna draw your thumbs slightly back behind your hips, and then inhale, release right to the point of where the tension starts to go away. So you don't want to just relax at the top. Keep a little tiny bit of tension so that as you exhale, you're fighting the band to come back behind that hip bone. And as we do this, I want you to think about keeping a really straight arm. So you're keeping tension in your triceps, the back of that upper arm. Those are your major elbow extenders. So I want you to think about not just reaching back, but also reaching down, 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 down. The opposite of if you had a question. The anti-question. Let's do 2 more here. Exhale, draw it back. Trying to isolate that movement as much as you can, just extending at the shoulder. Last one here. And draw it back. All right, we're gonna do that same exact movement, but we're just gonna take it out to about a 45-degree angle. All right, now if you wanna play with your palms, try this one with palms facing up towards the sky. All right, as you exhale, same thing, drawing down, but this time, at that bottom range of the motion, you have about enough space for a basketball between the side of your pinky and your hip bones, all right? Same idea here. As we draw back, think about reaching towards the opposite corner of your room at the same time. Stopping right before you release tension. And of course, let's check in and make sure that the head of that shoulder isn't starting to rotate forward. If you do find that in that last bit of motion, you're starting to rotate or collapse in the collarbones, scoot forward a little bit and take a little bit less tension so that you can move through that without needing to do that. Last 2. Exhale, press back, open the chest. Inhale, release. Last time. Exhale, press back, extend the arm. And inhale, release. Woo, very nice. Okay, for our next one, we are going to have palms facing towards each other. So you're giving yourself a high five. Start with those shoulders slightly depressed and retracted. And from here, you're going to open out to the sides like you're making a giant T shape with your body. All right? Exhale as you press open. And then inhale, control that eccentric motion. All right, so here, this is basically kind of that shoulder retraction and protraction movement, but we're just trying to make sure that we don't reach that end range of motion on that protraction. Remember, protraction is when the shoulder blades slide forward, all right? So as we exhale and squeeze, the shoulder blades are traveling together, and then as we come back to that parallel position, the shoulder blades are separating just slightly, just back to our neutral. Woo! Last 2. Backs of those shoulders, top of the shoulders, your deltoids, which are helping you keep the arm abducted away from the body, should be on fire right now. Last one. Woo! All right. Give yourself a couple of rolls here. Make sure you're not carrying any tension in your neck. A couple looks over each shoulder. Next one is going to be a shoulder fly. Now I'm going to take myself in a little bit for this because it is going to require an overhead movement, and some of your smaller stabilizers. So start with your hands out in front of you, same positioning, palms are gonna be facing down for this. And as you exhale, you're gonna make a Y up overhead and then draw it back down. You probably will lose tension unless you have the perfect band, all right? And that's okay, but just make sure that you are in control of the muscles so that the change in tempo shouldn't really be altered when that band tension releases. Whew, just gonna do a couple of these. These are really tough. Let's make sure that as we exhale and draw the hands up, we're not leaning back against the band, all right? Keep that spine as tall as ever, throwing out of the crown of the head as you draw those hands back. And again, modify that range of motion if necessary. This is totally a valid position, all right? Thumbs are facing each other as you draw back. Woo. All right, take a break. All right, for the next one, I'm gonna make you guys think just a little bit. It's gonna be the same thing that we just did. I'm gonna take a seat for no other reason than my knees are starting to give me a little trouble. So it's gonna be the same thing we just did, but instead of doing both hands into that Y, we're gonna do one hand into the Y while the other hand rows back, all right? Now you shouldn't feel a lot of tension in the arm that's rowing, but we're just trying to pair our brain doing different things with both sides of the body, all right? So let's take it up for our first one. So we're gonna row with one hand and fly with the other. Ready? Fly and row. Slow back to the center. Fly and row. Slow back to the center. Again, just check in, make sure we're not starting to lean back, not using that torso here. We're controlling this movement with the shoulder that's doing the fly and with the lat that is doing your row. Just working a little bit of brain-body connection here as we synthesize these two moves together. Now on that row, I just took a look at my own reflection. I noticed that my shoulder might have been creeping up just a little bit. So just make sure those shoulders stay with that slight depression. Reset in the middle, and then proceed. Reset, shoulders down and back, and then go on to your next rep. Controlling it so that you spend equal time on the press back as you do on the return back to your center. Let's do one more on each side. Exhale, press. Inhale, release. Exhale, press. Inhale, release. Woo! All right, now go ahead and situate yourselves. We're going to do a little side-facing series. So go ahead and come into a position where your right shoulder is facing towards your anchor point. Now this time we're gonna hold on to both bands with both of our hands. So you may need to move in just a little bit just because you're gonna have a little more tension with both of the bands in your hand at once. All right, so we're gonna do a pull-off press. So go ahead and set everything in place. Shoulder blades are slightly retracted, slightly depressed. Make sure those top ribs are glued down towards the back of your spine. Hands are going to grasp the band in front of you, making one big fist. Now, as we exhale, you're going to press the band away, and then as you inhale, draw it back to center. Now, at face value here, you would think this is an upper body exercise, right? Wrong. What we're working here is anti-rotational, okay? So we want to be feeling this up into the obliques, all right? That side abdominal area, all right? But if you're not feeling it there, all right, first of all, check in and make sure you have equal space on each side of your abdomen, all right? You're gonna feel this less if you're just letting the band kind of pull you over towards the anchor point. And if you need a little more tension, then go ahead and just draw yourself away from that anchor point a little bit, all right? You wanna make sure that as you press away, your shoulders are staying super, super square to that wall in front of you. And we're gonna do 3 more. Exhale, press. Again, by nature of putting our hands out in front of us, the shoulders are gonna wanna protract. So let's make sure we're still trying to keep that chest open even as the shoulders move out in front of us a little bit. All right, let's do 1 more for good luck. And draw it back in. All right, for our next one, we're just adding on to that exact same thing. This time, we worked our anti-rotational. We're gonna work into our rotation a little bit. So for this next one, you're gonna exhale, press away, and then you're gonna rotate away from your anchor point, and then come back to center, and then draw it back in. All right, so it's a 2-part movement. Ready? Shoulders are down and slightly back. Exhale, press away, collarbones are open, rotate, and then draw back to center and reset in the middle. Press, rotate, center, and middle. Now where we really want to get that rotation from is our thoracic spine, all right? So really think about, as you're doing this rotation, keep those hands on a nice even plane, okay? A lot of times as we come out and away, the hands are gonna wanna kind of dip down to compensate, all right? This is a rotation, not a flexion or a bending in that lateral plane, all right? Let's do 2 more after this one. Bring it in, exhale, press, rotate, and center. As you go through that rotation, let's make sure that you are following your fingertips with your eyes. And center. Woo, nice job. Okay, same setup, but this time, hold on to the bands with just your right hand, okay? Now you could do this with one side of the band, but just make sure that it's anchored appropriately so that you don't smack yourself in the face with your band. All right, so we're gonna do hug a tree. We actually did this last week with both bands. This time we have tension in only one hand, which means that we are going for, you guessed it, anti-rotation. So keep those shoulders square, set the shoulder blades down the back. Elbows are slightly lower than your shoulder, but we're keeping them high. And you wanna feel like you have a big basketball hoop right in between your elbows. Now as you exhale, draw your fingertips together, and as you inhale, open it back up. Exhale, draw it together. Inhale, open it back up. Now this one is a small movement, all right? So you're thinking about channeling these muscles right in the shoulder, right below the shoulder, right in that upper chest area, okay? And then as you draw together, I want you to really find the symmetry between those 2 fingertips, all right? So your fingertips, those middle fingers, should be meeting right in front of your sternum, okay? Make sure that just because you have tension in your right hand, you're not getting lazy and just letting your left hand come and do the work for you. Inhale, open. Every time you exhale, I want you to think about getting a little bit taller. Inhale, open. And make sure we're not opening so far that the chest curls forward. So small movement. Elbows should never be behind the shoulder. Last 2. And last 1. Very good. Okay, we're doing that same thing, but we're taking that movement up and overhead, and this time, instead of hugging a tree, we're gonna hug a moon, all right? So, with the overhead movement, elevation is the natural thing to do, so let's counteract that with a little depression, and on an exhale, draw those fingertips together, and then inhale, open it back up. Again, not a huge movement, okay? So we're not going for hug a full moon. We're just hugging a little, the top of the crescent here. And as you inhale, find that reset. As you exhale, try to keep those shoulder blades from spinning up and out. Try to keep them plugged down on the back of those ribs. Oh, and we'll go for 2 more. Fingertips should be meeting right over the center of your part here. Last one. And take it all the way down. Oh, all right, let's take that right arm over the chest for a little well-deserved stretch. Oh, think about still drawing that shoulder back a little bit. So you're creating the opposition for the stretch by pressing the shoulder back and pulling the elbow towards you. And even though I said elbow, try not to pull on the elbow directly because your joints are a little bit delicate, so you really want to pull more on the forearm itself. Oh. And then clasp your hands behind you. Take a quick chest opener here. Try to just open those clavicles, those lovely collarbones, and avoid opening the whole rib cage. Okay. Okay, well, we did one side, still got to do the other one. So go ahead and rotate around. We're going to do that whole series on the left-hand side, okay? So line yourself up. Let's make sure that that anchor point is about even with that left shoulder. And we're going to start with our cowl-off press. So both hands grab onto your band. Make that nice big fist right in front of your shoulders, or sorry, right in front of your chest. And then on an exhale, press those hands away and then pull them back in. Exhale, press, and then inhale, draw back in. As you're going through that pressing motion, you're resisting that band's pull. The band wants to pull you back to the anchor point, all right? So really think about those strong punching knuckles coming right out in front of you and then drawing back to center. Every time you exhale, use that strong breath to blow the air out of your center so that those muscle fibers get even more traction on one another because they don't have any of that pesky O2 in their way. Here we go. We've got 3 more. Exhale, press. Inhale, return. Reset the shoulder blades. Exhale, press. Collarbones are still open. Inhale, draw back in. Last one. Out and in. On this next one, we're adding rotation. So same movement out. Press straight out in front. Rotate. Draw back to center. And then bring it back in. So as you're rotating, gaze follows the top of that thumb. Draw back to center and in. Think about that rotation happening like a little barbershop pull spiraling up. So we're not initiating from the head, we're initiating from that side body, and the head is following it. That rotation has that kind of action potential all the way up to the crown of the head. Woo! All right, let's do 3 more. This one is so great. You get to work on when you add that rotation. So anti-rotation as we press out, work the rotation as we come to the side, and then reset in the center. Last time. And in. Nice work. All right, give yourself a little shake if you need it. We're going to go right into our hug a tree. So both sides of your band are going to be in that left hand now. Right hand is out with no resistance, but let's make sure we still keep it pretty. And then as we exhale, draw those fingertips together and then open it out to the side. Draw in and open out. All right. Now what I really want you to think about is kind of like a Pac-Man mouth here. So you have that perfect circle as you draw the fingertips together, and then you're just creating that angle to eat your ghost as you come back in. So it's hungry Pac-Man, satiated Pac-Man as the fingertips come together. Check in on those shoulders for me. Let's make sure that we haven't started elevating the elbows too much because we don't want to get into that kind of hunchback position. So elbows are slightly below the tip of the shoulder. And we're keeping those fingertips in our peripheral vision the entire time. We've got two more. Exhale, fingertips draw right in front of you. Inhale, open. And last time, open it up. Okay, you know what's coming. We are moving that whole shape up above the head. So before we bring the fingertips together, let's make sure that those shoulders are down, glued onto that bottom rib. Lots of space between the shoulder and the ear. And go ahead and exhale, draw those fingertips together. And inhale, open back up. Exhale, press. Inhale, control the release. Try to think about symmetry throughout this movement. So we're not only closing to the same spot, we're also opening to the same spot. Quick check-in on that body positioning. Let's make sure we haven't started to lean back and away from that resistance point. We're thinking biceps are at approximately the same horizontal plane as your ears. Let's do two more. Exhale, draw together. Inhale, release. Last time. And release. Take everything down. Let's take our nice stretch on the left-hand side this time. Draw that shoulder back, and then think about drawing your forearm towards your opposite shoulder. Still keeping that chest nice and open throughout. And then when you're ready, go ahead and take your hands behind you and open through the chest. Still keeping those ribs slightly tucked in, focusing on the movement from the front of that shoulder joint. All right. So for our next trick, our next act, we are going to take it down to the floor, supine, all right? So you're going to be on your back, and we are going to use that kettlebell that we put off to the side at the very beginning. Now, when you make your way down to your mat, just make sure, for my PR1 athletes, you want to make sure you're propping something underneath those knees, pillow, foam roller, just so that we don't hyperextend the knees, okay? And I know we talked about it in week 1, but just think about your alignment here for a second while you're on your back. So shoulder blades are flat on the ground, right? We're not letting them rotate or spin, right? We're kind of keeping them packed against the mat. We have that natural cervical spine space right behind the neck. Thoracic spine, your mid-back and your shoulder blades are connected. And then we have that space in the low back. All right, so keeping as much of this neutral alignment as we possibly can, go ahead and grab your kettlebell. And we're gonna start with a tricep exercise. And then we're gonna add an ab exercise with it. But let's start with the triceps just to make sure we've got the movement down. So I'm gonna hold on to my kettlebell horns here, okay? Arms are straight up towards the sky, extended, okay? So elbows are straight. And then we are going to bend at the elbow to bring the kettlebell horn down towards the forehead. And then exhale to extend out in front of us once again, okay? So it's inhale down. These are called skull crushers. I'm sure you can see why. And then exhale, extend, all right? Inhale, control it down. Exhale, think about that elbow stacking right on top of one another. You're squeezing the back of the arm as hard as you can to raise your hands. Yes, 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 I do love rowing. Let's do 3 more of these. Last 2. and 1. Really make sure you're working the back of the arm, squeeze to extend. All right, set the bell down for just 1 moment. We're gonna train our chest lift here before we add those 2 moves together. So let's put the hands right behind the head, and I want you to think about enough space for a grapefruit underneath your chin, okay? And then we're going to inhale to prepare. We're in our neutral spine. And then as you exhale, I want you to lift head, neck, and shoulders up. And then we're going to inhale, return it back down. All right, so it's exhale, lift. Really squeeze those rib cage down. And then it's inhale to return. As you're working through this, right, these are usually called crunches. I like to call them a chest lift because you're using that abdominal connection, right? We're not just yanking on our head. Our elbows are staying super wide. The only thing that's moving is really that rib cage is sliding down, kind of meet its compatriots down towards the hips. And you're lifting as much as you can here, right? So if that's just a little lift, that's totally fine. But you're thinking about lifting and your chin is almost going towards the opposite corner of your ceiling here. Let's do 2 more. Exhale, lift. Inhale to lower. We're not using those hands at all. In fact, think about pushing your head back into your hands like a basket. And release. All right, now pick up your kettlebell. We are going to add those 2 movements in together for a little compound fun. So hands are gonna go up in front of you towards the sky. All right, we're gonna start with our tricep skull crusher. So let's inhale, bend at the elbows. Exhale, press and extend. And then we're gonna lift the chest and bring it back down. So it's bend, extend, lift head, neck, and shoulders, and then draw back down. All right, now if this bothers your neck at all, you can always separate these 2 back out. Sometimes not having the support for your head with your hands is gonna give you a little bit of trouble. If that's the case, just do another set of skull crushers and another set of chest lifts, and you'll get the same amount of work. I kind of like this one though, because it's giving your body a little link of those movements. So we're having to figure out, as the hands go out in front of us, we're engaging the core to move the top of that spine, right? Kind of like the rowing stroke. As the hands move, you have to engage the core. Let's do 2 more full sets. Keep those elbow points fixed. As you go, we're just bending at that elbow pit. Last time, extend up, curl, and collapse down. Woo, nice job. All right, we're gonna do another compound movement, okay? So we're gonna break it up into 2 parts. So part 1 is gonna be a chest press. So we're gonna go single-sided here. So I'm gonna start on my left side here, all right? And for this chest press, I want your elbows at about a 45-degree angle, okay? So again, about enough space for a basketball between your elbow and the side of your body. So we're not out at 90, we're not in at, parallel, 45 degrees away. And let's start with just a press up. So exhale, press, and then inhale, return back down. Now, as you're doing this, you'll probably notice that because this is single-sided, you want to start a rock over to the side as you come down, all right? So really think about anchoring through that right hand and that right shoulder blade and that right rib so that as you come down, your chest stays nice and square to the sky up above you. Let's do 2 more. Inhale down, exhale, press, and return. All right, go ahead and switch out your hands. So we'll do that same thing on the right. So anchor your left hand. Right elbow is at 45 degrees. Left side body is glued to the mat. And we're gonna exhale, press, and then inhale, bring it back down. Now, as we're doing this, I really want you to think about the muscles that you're recruiting for this press. So in order to extend the shoulder out in front of us, we're using that pectoralis major, your big chest muscles, but we are also extending the elbow. So you're using that tricep to extend at the elbow. As we draw back down to the ground, you're going to control with your bicep and your lats. So think front of the body a little bit and then back of the body. Last one. And draw down. Set that off to the side for just a moment. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to practice the ab movement. So put your right hand behind your head. Left hand is anchored out to the side. And then as you exhale, you're going to lift and rotate. You can lift that hand too. I like to sometimes anchor it just because it gives you a little bit more control through the movement. But if you want that added challenge, you can even add the other hand back behind you. But what I want you to think is that it's lift first and then rotate. So the goal is not to just flop to the side. The goal is to engage the abs as we peel head, neck, and shoulders off, and then rotate, keep those elbows wide as you come back to center and down. Let's do 2 more in this direction. Really using that exhale to drive the breath out as you come into your flexion and center. All right, let's switch directions. So it's lift, rotate, center, and release. As we're lifting, you're thinking about the top rib is sliding down towards your opposite hip bone. So I kind of picture it like it's sending that energy in almost an X direction across the body. We've got 3 more here. As you exhale, think about like blowing out candles on a birthday cake. We're using that forced exhalation to help compress all those organs inside. And release. All right. Now, same thing. We're going to do a compound movement. If this bugs your neck at all, do your separate sets again so that you don't have any issues with your neck. So I'm going to start with my left hand, since we started with our left hand for our first set. Right hand is going to anchor out to the side, all right? Set the elbow at your 45-degree angle, and then we're going to exhale, extend up in front of you, and then we're going to lift and rotate, and then come back to center and down. We're just doing 5 of these. So it's exhale, press, lift, rotate, and down. The rotation doesn't have to be big. What I want you to think is that the weight is kind of even with your left knee as we lift, and then it's even with your right knee as you come back down. So it's just a little cross. We've got 2 more. Exhale, press into that right hand. Last time. Recruit those upper body muscles. Recruit the abs, obliques, center, and down. Nice work. Okay, let's finish it out on the right hand side for our final hard exercise. Set the 45-degree angle, right? We're thinking that the thumb is about level with your 3rd set of ribs here, maybe. All right. As we exhale, let's press up towards the sky. Lift head, neck, and shoulders. Slight rotation and back down. Not only are we doing the main movements, but as we lift and rotate, you're also having to use a lot of your shoulder stabilizers to make sure that you keep the weight centered throughout. And come back down. We've got 2 more. It's exhale, press, curl, rotate, center, and release down to the ground. Final rep. Here we go. Exhale. Curl. Keep that chin off the chest as we rotate and center. Bring it down. Whew. Set that kettlebell off to the side. All right, we're gonna do a little opener here. Now, what I'd recommend is if you're not comfortable on your side, is finding something to hold on to here. A couch leg works great, okay? So we're just gonna do a couple of thoracic chest openers. So this is our stretch, so everyone enjoy it. So find yourself in a sideline position. Again, if you have a foam roller, it works great under the knee here to support that top leg in a position where you'll be in a little bit better alignment, or a pillow, okay? The sideline position, anchor yourself if you need to with that bottom hand, and all we're gonna do is open up and feel that nice stretch across the chest. And then close it back up. And work in a range of motion where you feel secure. We're gonna go for about 3 more. Follow the hand with the gaze. So again, we're getting that nice spiraling from the base of the spine all the way up to the crown of the head. Think about reaching those fingertips away from your body as well as towards the floor. And then on this next one, I'm just gonna have you guys relax your head down, and then you're just gonna draw a circle up and over your head. So we start out in the same position. Think about drawing a moon shape above your head, and then bring it back until you feel a kind of sticky point, and then you're gonna return it right back to the center. So it's circle. Now we really are making a little like side halo. Picture Catholic art in the 1700s, making that big halo all the way around your head, and then just a little bit back behind you. But this time we're working the mobility in the shoulder rather than the spine. So think about the rotation coming from the shoulder socket. We're gonna get a little rotation through the ribs, but not necessarily the goal. All right, last one, and center. All right, go ahead and make your way over towards the opposite side. Take your time finding that comfortable position. We're gonna go on the right this time, or whatever your opposite side is. And if you do have like a yoga block or something, you can always use that to prop your head if it's ever uncomfortable to be in this side lying position at all. Same idea, if you want to anchor yourself with that bottom hand, grab onto something just to avoid kind of rotating a little bit too far. And then when you're ready, make sure you've got the lower body situated with a foam roller or a pillow. And then as you exhale, we're gonna draw that left hand over, open the chest, spiral out of the spine, and then draw it back to center. We'll do about 4 of these. Take your time with it. Feel that beautiful, beautiful opening through the entire chest and back to center. Last 2. And last one. Again, on that last one, think about not just extending your hands down, but also reach away from your body. Find that long line from fingertip to fingertip. And then back to center. And now let's work that rotation in the shoulder. So you're gonna draw that little halo around the head, Open it back until you feel like you would have to rotate to try to keep your shoulders more or less stacked for this. And then bring it back in front of you. Right, because a lot of times, just because of the nature of the way that our bodies are situated in front of devices or driving, right, a lot of times we are in that shoulder extension. And so moving the shoulder back behind you a little bit is just a nice exercise to make sure that we are loosening some of those tight muscles across the chest and even into the bicep, which is where some of the time we get a little tension from all that typing. And last time, my left side's a little tighter. We might have spent a little longer on this side. And center. All right, you guys are done for the day. We will be doing another video next week. And Jen, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section.